All right. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday yet again with me, your hostess with the mostess, I hopestess, Amy from Namataste Nutrition. All right. So today we are talking about hanger. Wow. And if you have ever been hangry before, which I think most of us have been, maybe you've said some things that you regretted in the moment. I mean, we've all been there before. So what exactly is hanger? And what the heck, like how does it make otherwise lovely, pleasant people turn into monsters? Let's discuss. So now, the topic of hanger, like when we get into the sort of sciencey part of it, is a really big topic. And so we're really gonna just scratch the surface today. I'm going to give you some understanding of why we get hungry and also how to remedy the hunger. Because as you know, I like solutions, not just problems. I'm not gonna drop a problem bomb on you and be like, bye, never. So that is what we're gonna discuss. And if you stay till the end, I have a gift for you. So that's exciting. All right, so who's ready? Can I get like a hand up if you have ever been, or like a thumbs up wherever you're watching this later on, if you have ever been hungry before, or maybe you're hangry rather, and maybe you're hangry right now, and that's okay if you are. If you are, I recommend having a little something. You can listen to this while you eat. That's totally accepted. Anyways, let's jump in. Hanger. This is when your blood sugar drops low. So essentially what happens is when we eat food, most food, especially our carbs and our proteins, they break down into glucose or sugar in the blood, which is also known as blood sugar. And then what happens is we get this spike of blood sugar and we feel great, we feel happy, we're energized, we're excited, we're doing things, it's awesome. And then suddenly our whole bodily system, our pancreas releases insulin, and insulin helps to bring that blood sugar level down. And when it comes down, then we start to get a little low, we get a little more sleepy, we get a little more frustrated more easily, and so we feel like we need to eat. And then what we do is we eat again. We eat something, typically something that's easy to grab and convenient, which very often are processed foods and they're higher in sugar. We get that blood sugar spike, we get that rush, we feel great again, and then all of a sudden the whole process continues. And so what happens when we have this blood sugar going up and down and up and down and up and down, we call that dysglycemia, meaning it's irregular blood sugar levels. So if you have low blood sugar in that moment when you're hangry, we call that hypoglycemia. If you have high blood sugar, meaning you just ate, you're feeling awesome, that's hyperglycemia. And the fluctuation between the both of them is called dysglycemia, or bouncing between both. All right, so now that we've got that out of the way, then why do we get hangry? And this is a very, very good question. So when our blood sugar is low, what happens is our body, we go into this mode of like survival. We need to eat something because otherwise we're just going to be really frustrated. But the good news is that we don't actually have to be hangry. And so if we can avoid this dysglycemic reaction of going up and down and up and down by keeping it moderate with specific foods, which we'll talk about a little bit later, then we actually don't experience those highs and those lows. So dysglycemia, by the way, can be very dangerous when we leave it for too long. So when we are dysglycemic for a long period of time, I'm talking like years at a time, which unfortunately most of us who eat a standard American diet, we live like that for most of our lives. That can actually lead to prediabetes and eventually diabetes, and that's not a good thing. Before all of that would be insulin resistance, which is a whole topic for another day, but this is why it's so dangerous to have these peaks and these valleys with your blood sugar. So before we get into some solutions, which I will talk about, don't worry, how do we end up having these blood sugar spikes anyways? So basically what happens is that when we eat our standard American diet, which is full of processed foods or simple carbs, we eat these simple carbs and then we get that blood sugar spike. And so this is why when we say eat a whole food plant-based diet, that's what we're talking about. So whole foods are going to have more nutrients in them that are going to help to regulate your blood sugar level. Processed foods, and let's talk about processed foods for a moment because not everybody knows what those are. Refined flours, refined sugar. Refined sugar meaning it's not in its whole form like sugarcane. Maple syrup is a much better form of sweetener. Yes, it's still sugar. It's still going to have an effect on your blood sugar levels, but it's a little bit better in the sense where it's got more minerals and nutrients in there. And then other foods that are going to really spike the blood sugar are anything that comes in packages. Of course, sweets and candies and chocolates and chips. You don't need me to tell you that. But there are a lot of plant-based foods which also have very high sugar. Same thing if you're consuming copious amounts of pineapple every day. That's still a lot of sugar for your blood. So even on a plant-based diet, it's possible to have dysglycemia happen. So third point I want to make here is that your hormones play a really large role in the matter. So even if you are, consuming mostly whole food plant-based diet and you're not really eating a lot of processed foods, you can still be going through a dysglycemic reaction. Why? Really great question. That's because we are hormonal beings. And if you are living in a state of constant stress, which we can talk about a little bit more, this is actually going to have a huge role on your blood sugar. Same thing if you're not getting enough sleep. That's another really amazing way to mess up your blood sugar levels. So I did talk a little bit more about stress and also about sleep in one of my blog posts on my website, which I can guide you to after this video here. And it's a really great read. So if you haven't checked that out yet, then I do recommend doing that. So I'm going to give you a quick recap here. Hypoglycemia is low blood sugar, the feeling that we get when we are hangry, when we were like, God, I am just so frustrated right now. I'm shaking. Can't you see it? And I need food. But usually we don't know we need food. Usually we snap at the people around us. And then when we eat, we realize, oh, that wasn't very nice. Hyperglycemia is when we have that food freshly in our bloodstream. The sugars, the glucose is floating around and we're like, yeah, life is good. Dysglycemia is the feeling of going high and low and high and low and high and low. And unfortunately, is a precursor to insulin resistance, prediabetes, and diabetes type 2. Processed foods are going to contribute to dysglycemia. So again, we want to avoid processed foods as much as possible, yet it's not the only thing. And then also our hormonal systems are going to play a role in this. And hormones, again, another really big topic. When I said at the beginning that we're just scratching the surface, I really mean that. This is like the tip of the iceberg when it comes down to the hormonal systems, blood sugar levels, and all of that. And I am so happy to dive into all of these aspects with you in later videos, but I like to keep them a little bit shorter because I know not only attention spans are a little bit short nowadays, but it's also a lot of information to take in at once. And so I'd love for, instead of us diving into the whole 90% of the iceberg, we start out with little bits at a time. You can start to implement and then come back later when you're hungry for more information. See what I did there? All right, so some action steps. So the first thing that I'm going to recommend, and there are so many different action steps you can take to help regulate blood sugar levels so that you don't get hangry. I'm going to touch on 3 today, and these are the 3 what I think are the easiest to implement right away, but they're easy enough that you'll be able to add them into your life right away. So number 1, consume a whole food plant-based diet. That means lowering the amount of dairy that you're consuming because dairy is full of sugar, lactase. It is full of sugar and it has a really negative effect on your blood sugar levels, as well as a whole bunch of other really negative effects, but we're not going to dive into that today. Whole food, plant-based diet, meaning less refined foods, more whole grains, more fiber in your diet. Now, I did talk a little bit more about this in another video I did called Weight Gain on a Plant-Based Diet. If you have not yet watched that, I do recommend checking it out when you get the chance. So consuming the rainbow. I always like to say eat the rainbow. The more colorful foods you have in your diet, the better. So that's like purple cabbage and zucchinis and tomatoes and oranges and whatever you can find. If you can eat a little bit of the rainbow every single day, I think you're doing pretty darn tootin' good. They're also packed with fiber, which is nature's antidote to sugar. And so fiber really slows the release of sugar into our blood so that we have this nice steady increase in sugar and then a really steady decline so that we don't have that drop and then we get angry and then we say things we don't mean. So tip number 2, reduce your stress. Maybe that's the yoga teacher in me talking. I'm not too sure, but reduce your stress. As I mentioned before, stress hormones are going to have a really impactful impact on your sugar levels in your blood. And so many of us run around in life and we think we're not stressed out, but the things that you don't realize are stressing you out can actually be the biggest stressors. Sometimes that is your family. Honestly, we love our family. I love my family. Sometimes it can actually be something that you're so accustomed to, so used to being around, you don't realize that it actually brings you stress. It can be a living situation. It can be your job. It can be simply driving and getting in your car, especially if you have trauma from a car accident. That can be a really stressful thing. And having your stress levels be high and all of those stress hormones be at the forefront all the time, that has a negative impact on your blood sugar levels. So making sure that you stay calm, that you stay focused, that you're breathing and practicing those breathing techniques, because the breath is the most powerful tool that you have with you everywhere that you go all the time. By using your breath and consciously slowing down the rhythms of your exhale, slowing down the inhale, you can actually help to control your hormonal levels from the inside out. How cool is that? Tip number 3, sleep. So getting enough sleep is key, not only to blood sugar levels, but to all of life. And that is because not having enough sleep can also affect the hormonal system. And of course, hormones are at the root of blood sugar levels being too high. So it is all connected. If you want to learn a little bit more about sleep, I have a really great article on my website, namatastenutrition.com. Go check it out. It's called Weight and Stress and Sleep. I can't remember the title name right now, but it's in there in the blog. You'll be able to find it. It is one of the many amazing articles that are coming out in the next short while. So stay tuned for that. Anyways, so I'm going to recap those action steps for you because these are important. You can implement them today. Tip number 1, to make sure that you don't get hangry and say mean things, you're going to eat a whole food plant-based diet. So that means filling up first on your fruits, your veggies, your whole grains, your legumes, your nuts, your seeds, and then 20% of the time you can consume whatever the heck you want to. That's totally fine. The great thing with a whole food plant-based diet is it's not that strict. I know it might sound strict, but it's really not. It's so lenient. All you want to do is make sure that if you're hungry, eat the veggies first, and then when you have a little bit more room, then you have the fun stuff, the dessert, the popcorn, the chips, whatever else you want to have after that. Tip number 2, you're going to make sure that you are reducing your stress. So that could be deep breathing, that could be meditation, or going for a walk, maybe for some of you going for a run, sitting down, reading a book, having a nice conversation with a friend. These are all some things that are going to help reduce our stress levels. And then thing number 3 is get enough sleep. Seriously. Check out that article. It's going to explain all of the reasons why you need sleep and also some tips that are going to help you to get a better night's sleep. All right. So as I promised at the beginning, I have a gift for you. So if you check out my new website, namatastenutrition.com, it just went live this week and I'm super excited about it. It's also very nerve-wracking because it's like a piece of my heart that I've put out there for everyone to see. So if you have not yet checked it out, I recommend going and checking it out. Take a little browse through and also sign up for the checklist, the ultimate, capital V, ultimate plant-based pantry checklist. So in there, you'll be able to sign up and I'm going to send it to you for free. It's actually a $297 value, which I'm currently offering for free. So if you're watching this, then I recommend checking it out, downloading it, and it is amazing. It is so amazing if I do say so myself. It's done in a format that's actually usable. It's not one of those downloadable PDFs that ends up in a junk folder somewhere. It's actually going to be something that is tangible that you can use when you're at the grocery store or when you're like, what are the benefits of millet again? Like I don't remember. You can actually go in there and you can find out some amazing information about these foods, how to use them, the best storage tactics, and also how to source the best quality. So get it while it's hot. I look forward to seeing you guys on the next Wellness Wednesday. As always, stay woke, and I am here for you if you have questions, comments, concerns, and also if you have any requests for future topics. I have a little spreadsheet. I love taking requests, and so if there's something you want to know about, if you want me to dive deeper into hormones and how they work and how they affect our weight and our blood sugar and all of that and our mood, because oh my God, if we're in a bad mood, life sucks. So happy to dive into this more on a future call. Download that checklist. Let me know what you think of it, and I love you. Catch you on the flip side.